How do you deal with the thoughts of their betrayal? My partner confessed their infidelity to me and we are trying to make it work. We've been together for years and I am having a difficult time letting go, so I wanted to try to mend our relationship. I want to forgive and forget, but I constantly think about what they did, even when we have good days. They lied to me for an extended period of time and I did not suspect anything. I thought I'd found a soulmate. I trusted them completely and they took advantage of that. I have moments of intense misery every day. I am resentful that I have to feel like this to be with them. I hate the insecurity and the compulsions that this has made me develop. I do not trust them to not do it again, even with the confession. I see this person differently now, and I am not sure I can be in love with them again. There is love still, but it is guarded and fearful now. It feels like I am mourning our life together. It is hard to see their face and recognize that it's the same face I promised my forever to. Does this feeling ever go away? Is it possible to be in love with someone again that you know is capable of hurting you? Even if your partner is the best and does everything right, can you really stop thinking about what they did? I am afraid I will spend my time suffering for the sake of this relationship only to have it end in a few years when they're unfaithful again. How does anyone do this? How do you sacrifice so much of yourself for someone that broke your heart? Redditor's reactions, story 2 after. Redditor 1, I for one chose not to but then again I saw her completely different and could never trust her the way I had before D-Day. She will always have a seat at the table, will always love her as she's the mother to our child, but she will never get the full me again. Redditor follow-up, I think that's the biggest obstacle to overcome and I don't know if most people can, the sense of never being able to trust them again, to fully open yourself up to them the way you were before. I don't know if we should ever trust anyone fully because we're all human, but the guardedness I think people feel after an affair can make a real marriage close to impossible. You don't want to be vulnerable again with someone who has hurt you so much. Even physical intimacy can be a real problem. Redditor 2, well, mine wanted rug sweep hard. She totally lost it as I told her to pack her bags. Snapped even more out of reality. 4 months later she realized what she did but fell in such a deep toxic shame pit, it was impossible to reach her. Then later she stood at my door telling me I want that it's like before, what I dismissed. Then another month later we had court date and she could not look in my face. A week later I reached out to her, apologizing for the harsh words in the court and offering a talk. I really love her still, but I also teach her a lifetime lesson. I don't know how it plays out and I'm sorry for the kids who stayed with me, she pays support. But I'm also anticipating the final results. Her betrayal was over 2 years full-blown love affairs but also random guys, BO jobs, being a drinking, lying to everybody. So even betraying the apps who also love her, it's quite astounding. We never had a dead bedroom, or no activities together. Just in the final months she gaslit, became strange, like she felt impending doom, while I was the best husband ever. The thoughts you mention, I rationalized them. People do bad things, you never can be sure. But it doesn't affect you as person, they are external influences. They can't rob you of your internal happiness, they should be multiplicators of it. If you haven't found your own happiness in life, this is your opportunity. Redditor 3, I gave my ex multiple chances, mostly due to her relapsing and being with her supplier. The feeling never goes away, but if you really want to make things work you have to do your best to understand people mess up. But we also never have to forgive or forget. It's when if it happens again that's the real issue. Ultimately it comes down to you communicating how you feel and them owning what they did. It's okay to tell them when you don't feel right, and up to them to comfort and reassure you. If you both truly want to move forward together, they need to prove to you in a natural way that they regret it and want to be with you. It didn't work out for me, but I went all in on my ex. I did my part by trusting her completely and telling her you are an adult, you know right from wrong. Never once did I try and control anything because she's an individual. She actively chose to be terrible and lie and cheat again. But that's not to say you two can't build the trust again and keep it going. Good luck. Story 2, cheat on me with 5 guys. I'll destroy your scooter? Not sure if this is pro-revenge or petty revenge, but I got away with it, so I guess I'll try here first. Bish ex-girlfriend equals Bex, not her real name. A brief description of me at the time when this happened. I was 18, I had been working my first real job for about a year or so and had bought my first motorbike. This is important, but we'll get back to that later. So I was a late bloomer with the girls and I had finally gotten my first GF, Bex, who had just started working at a cafe near my work. I was stoked, she was hot and most importantly she seemed to really like me. I was from another country, had a sexy accent and rode a motorbike. Turns out I ticked all of her boxes, so we started going out and within a few weeks she finally punched my V card. It wasn't great, but hey, I finally got some. After the first month or so Bex took me to visit her parents and I had invited her to come over and meet my family over dinner. My mum even made Bex a birthday present. Everything seemed to be going well and young naive me thought this might last for a while, so we started planning a holiday overseas. Bex convinced me with her womanly wiles that I should stump up the cost of the flights and accommodation and she would make sure that we had fun over there. I grinned like a moron and only thought with my head, and not the one on my shoulders. I put all my savings together and I headed down to the travel agent and put all my money down as the deposit for the holiday. All the flights were paid for as well as a majority of the hotel. Everything was going amazingly, that was, until her best friend found out she had convinced me to put all my money into the holiday and she took pity on me. She showed me some screenshots of Bex's sting and agreeing meeting up with 5 other guys within the same few months we had been together. I confronted her and she, surprisingly, admitted to it with absolutely no shame. She saw nothing wrong with it. That's what really pissed me off, the fact that she just said, yeah, I did see them, I just didn't think you'd care about it. Like, bish, really? I just put all of my money into an overseas holiday for us, you took my V card, we met each other's parents and I wouldn't care about you cheating on me with 5 other guys. After a few days of teenage anger and tears I head down to the travel agents and try to get my money back from them. I just couldn't go on the holiday that we'd planned. Unfortunately, as I had put my money down as a deposit, it was not refundable. Not knowing the consumer rights in the country I'd moved to, I argued with the rep and was asked to leave. Fast forward 3 weeks. I'm at work, my bitterness has just started to fade as Bex walks in looking for me. She comes over and asks me to help her with her brand new scooter her new boyfriend had just bought her because I knew about motorbikes. I couldn't believe this bish. She takes my V card, cheats on me with 5 guys, I lose my savings because of her and she has the balls to ask me to help fix the scooter her boyfriend who she probably cheated on me with had just bought her. So an idea sparks in my mind, time for revenge. I smile and say, of course Bex, I'm more than happy to help, whilst hating myself for even giving her the time of day. She takes me over to her shiny new scooter and it's just a flat battery, but I change out her 10 amp fuse with a 40 amp one as I tell her it's a blown fuse. We try to turn it on, nope, Still not working. I then pull the larger battery out of my bike and put it into her scooter. As soon as the terminals are connected to the battery and the ignition turned on, smoke starts pouring from wherever there is wiring. I can smell the insulation melting, and then there is a small lick of flame from the wiring loom under the footboards that I quickly blow out before she noticed it. I swap everything back and tell her it's a faulty scooter, she needs to take it back to the dealership so she can claim the repairs under warranty. She believed me and started pushing her scooter back the 4 or 5 kilometers from where she worked to her house and up a fair few hills too in 30-degree heat as well. That was the last time I ever talked to her, but I did see her standing at the bus stop when she was going to or from work every now and again, so I can only assume that the scooter was never repaired. Redditors' reactions, Story 3 after. Redditor 1, story could have used more V cards. Redditor 2, I think it's funny how people are upset you broke her bike, but other stories get applauded when their revenge puts the other person in jail or ruins their life. Redditor 3, I don't quite believe you. Unless there was a short somewhere, changing the fuse and battery is not going to change the draw. Even if there was a short, the 10-amp fuse should have blown with her battery. Did you create the short, or hook your battery up, backward or something else like that? Redditor follow-up, heavily increasing the voltage of the charging circuit could have an effect on the current. Story 3, user loser gets screwed. Not my revenge, but my mother's from over a decade ago. I doubt that the target of said revenge or my mom will ever be on Reddit, but I made this throwaway account anyway. Unfortunately, for context, I'm going to have to build up to the actual story, but you need to know this to know why the revenge was so sweet. All names have been changed, to protect the innocent, and the not so innocent. Backstory. I have a ton of aunts and uncles on both sides. This uncle is my father's baby brother, the youngest of he and his siblings, and boy was he treated like the baby. This uncle married a woman I'll call B. B is a user and a loser. Despite her constant cheating, my uncle has never divorced that woman. Even after she had him falsely accused of being a predator. That's right, this woman had her oldest offspring, who isn't my uncle's child, BTW, let's call her Anna, lie about my uncle molesting her when she was a teenager. My uncle did no such thing. Despite his other many failings in life, he's not a predator. B continued to cheat and run out on my uncle, had a second kid in wedlock to her shock, and another kid out of wedlock, but that's a different story. B also gotten custody of Anna's 2 oldest children and the money from the government that went with their upkeep. This was because Anna was a teenager when she had them, and B's a prolific liar. I wouldn't trust B with a potted plant, but B knows how to game the system. So, years after B got custody of Anna's kids and reaped the monetary benefits, Anna met a guy I'm going to call Jess. Jess went on to be the father of her 3rd kid. Now Jess, unbeknownst to B, the uncle, B's current lover, and Anna, already had a sort of connection to the family. Enter my mom. This is where my mom finally comes into play. She used to work for a major foreign brand's local factory making a particular range of their products years and years ago. Jess worked there once too as a temp worker. That's how Mom knew him, Jess the temp. Then years later, Jess and my mother returned to that plant in different roles, hers in medical and his in security. Jess would stop by my mom's office, and they'd talk. Somehow something he was talking about triggered something, and Jess was like, "What's your last name?" "Smith." He mentioned uncle's name, and then Mom was like, "B." As Jess mentioned that they had borrowed money from him. Mom told him point blank, "You've never getting that money back." After Jess found that out for sure, he saw the real face of B when he turned off the cash flow. It was ugly. The revenge plot. Jess wanted to take Anna and his baby to get her away from B, because she was different, away from her mother's toxic influence. Jess also wanted to get custody of Anna's two oldest kids away from B. My mom, knowing all the shit B's pulled over the years, jumped in to help him. That's when she outlined the plan. First, Jess needed to establish himself with a new job near his family. Apparently his sister in his hometown was trying to get him to take a job there. Then, Jess needed to get custody of his and Anna's child. Where he went with the baby, Anna would follow. Finally, once he had fully established himself in his hometown, he was to pursue custody of Anna's two oldest children after a year or so. This would prove he was a stable provider and that he could help Anna take care of the kids. Jess followed my mom's plan to the letter. He got custody of his child, went back to his hometown, and Anna did indeed follow where the baby went. With Jess gone, Mom didn't know if she'd get any other info. Then she found out this juicy tidbit later. So you see, B was not pleased that she was about to lose custody of Anna's two older kids, and the money she got from the state for their upkeep, and ripped Anna and Jess a new one in the elevator. Right in front of the child advocate. B had no idea that the child advocate was even there when she went into her little tirade. I wish I had been a fly on the wall once they got to the room for the hearing when B was stripped of her custody of Anna's two kids. In the aftermath, my mom always had a bit of an evil smirk about how B had no idea who the architect of her destruction truly was. That would normally be the end, but there's an epilogue. Epilogue. Years later, when a family tragedy brought my father's side together, Anna and Jess, and the kids were in to pay respects. Apparently, when Jess saw my mom and happily talked to her, the look on B's dumbfounded face was priceless. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, I love the revenge stories that are about an aggrieved person who hands their tormentor a shovel and stands back, watching them dig their own grave. The fact that it directly benefited 3 children just makes it that much more satisfying. Redditor follow-up, give the devil a long enough rope, and he'll hang himself, is an apt way to phrase what happened. Redditor 2, this would be a good story if you could fill in the plot holes. Why was B awarded custody of Anna's older children? What advice did your mother give Jess that led to him gaining custody of his baby over the child's mother, Anna? On what grounds did Jess and Anna sue B for custody of Anna's older children? Did Anna ever admit that her accusations against her stepfather, your uncle, were false? Reading between the lines, it sounds like Anna had some serious issues, drug addiction. That made the courts decide she was an unfit parent. I hope she got over these problems once she got away from B. Redditor follow-up, she stated that Anna was a teen when she had the kids. I'm guessing she was pressured into giving B legal custody somehow. Redditor 3, how can there be proof that B got Anna to lie about his stepfather molesting her? Did the uncle keep a detailed account of his whereabouts and had cameras recording everything he does? That is not easy accusation to make. There is usually no upside since very little ever happens and predators groom their character witnesses more than they groom their victims, and getting a victim of CSA to retract their statement is not exactly difficult since they're traumatized kids. If B is such a nightmare, then marrying her does not make sense unless the uncle did have plans. People are more likely to lie about being mugged or having their house burned down than being victims of S-timual crimes.